And welcome to my intro video for the Muscular Dystrophy group build, being hosted by Scott at Saltwater Scale Models. We are in the middle of a thunderstorm, by the way, here in Nashville, so if you hear some thunder in the background, that is why. Alright, I'm going to be doing the 68 Dodge Dart by Revell, and I'm kind of torn, not sure really. I'm going to go one of two directions here. My initial idea, which I'm kind of, that may be the way I go, I'm not really sure, but I had another idea pop in kind of at the last minute before I did this video. My initial idea was to do it the way that it came from the factory, and just real quickly, if you're not familiar with the story on the Hemi darts, the 68 Hemi darts, in 68 there were 70. The numbers kind of are supposedly 150. Split down the middle between Dodge Darts and Plymouth Barracudas were made strictly for competition purposes. Now, the numbers, I have read different articles and have read different arguments on forums over how many were actually made. I've heard 72, I've heard 70, I've heard of each one. So supposedly it was supposed to have been split down the middle, 75 darts, 75 Barracudas. But anyway, the bodies and chassis were made and put together in the plant in Michigan. But after they were put together, the bodies and the chassis, they were sent to the Hearst Corporation, the Hearst Performance Corporation or company in Pennsylvania, and the Hemis were, for all practical purposes, shoehorned into the engine bays. And to get them in, the shock towers were beaten with sledgehammers to get them to fit in, and first one thing and another. So they came basically primered, and the front fenders and hoods fiberglassed. The bumpers were thinned up. The interiors were stripped bare bone. No back seat, no heater, no radio, no window cranks. The windows were let up and down. They had a seat belt strap attached to them. So for all practical purposes, just a bare bones car that were designed to be sold to people who were going to race them. Now, also conflicting reports on who could get them and who couldn't. You couldn't just, average Joe could not just order one from the factory and say, I want a Hemi dart. Like I said, for one thing, they were not meant for road use. Now, that's not to say that some of them weren't. I have a couple of articles, and I've got some reference pics of one that was actually, that's what happened to it. It wound up being a street machine, and it is in possession of a gentleman right now, and it is worth quite a bit of money, as you might expect. But anyway, I'm kind of torn between doing it that way. Backstory being that a guy buys one, and he lucked up and got one, and he decides to, he's used all the money he has for buying the car, and he's going to take it to the track and his local track on the weekend and just terrorize everybody. But he doesn't have any money to paint it and make it pretty and all that kind of stuff. So he's got it just bare bones the way he picked it up, minus some bigger tires on the rear and what have you. And by the way, these cars came with just plain old, they didn't come with slicks on them. They just came with plain old tires on them. And I've seen some pictures of them sitting in the lot at Hearst, and they look funny because they they radiused out the rear wheel wells to accommodate quite naturally super stock tires, you know, drag slicks. And those factory stock tires look funny sitting in those open wheel wells like that. It looks like a little bicycle tire in there. But I'm torn between doing it that way and actually doing a little Dodge Dart in its GTS. Had it come from the factory without having a Hemi dropped in it, it's GTS trim, kind of like you see the green one back there, but maybe with, you know, a little forward rate to it, maybe some bigger tires in the rear, a little dog dish action going on, something like that. So not really sure. You know, I haven't seen very many of those, so I'm kind of a sleeper deal with that, and you know, a decent paint job. If we do the other one, I'm gonna do it with the gray primer, the front clip, you know, with the, you know, satin or flat black to replicate fiberglass, you know, front clip or front fenders and hood and what have you. So we'll see. We'll just see. I kind of see where everything takes me, and what I decide to. I've got some stuff I just got in from Joseph at Fireball Model Works. I got some Mopar Steelies and some stuff, and so we may see how, if we can make some combinations work out between the race suspension and the stock suspension. And if I do the sleeper package, I'm gonna do it with the 440. It comes with kit comes with the 440 or the race Hemi. So we'll just see kind of where inspiration takes me as we get closer to build time. But I want to get my hat in the ring and let everybody know what I was doing. So that's pretty much it for this one. Till I talk to you again, may God bless you and your family. Take care of one another. Don't take any crap from anyone. See you soon.